Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There is my trusty Pentel mechanical pencil with 0.7 HB lead and my kneaded eraser. And here is my favorite paper to draw on, Strathmore Bristol board 300 series with vellum surface. Now, I love vellum surface because the surface has a tooth that grips the pencil very well. And today we are going to draw Catwoman from DC Comics. So I basically have a rough figure in mind. I wanted her holding a whip, or should I say with her hand cocked back with the whip ready to strike. Almost like an Indiana Jones pose. And as always, I start out with the head first. So I want the head to looking directly at the viewer, ready to strike. So the thing about poses is, I sometimes, when I draw, actually a lot of times actually, when I draw poses, I actually kind of get into it. When I get into it, I physically get into it. So when I'm drawing this, I'm actually standing up the way the camera is set up on my drawing table. I actually am standing up, so I am actually when I sometimes draw, I would actually physically pose myself in that pose to get the feel for it, which is kind of odd. I mean, actually, it's kind of be pretty funny if you kind of actually come to my studio as I'm drawing. You'll see me kind of very physically active, where I'm posing and gesturing with my hand or my body. It's actually now I think about it, it's kind of like I'm crazy or something. So I like to make sure I get the face just right, especially on women, when I'm drawing women, because the face is often the thing that the people look at right away. Or should I say, one of three things they look at right away. So once I have the face down, I then I will basically go down the neck and start really start drawing the anatomy. As you can see, I mean, this is essentially kind of like a little bit more than a stick figure. It's just gestural drawing. See the center line, that kind of, the midline, and that kind of will help me gauge the how the spine will be curved. And I'm drawing the trap, the pectorals. These are all just like rough placement. And the really important thing when drawing comics is the gesture drawing. I mean, anatomy is always first and foremost important, but I think close second, or just as important, is the gesture drawing, the gesture figure work. I mean, that's what I do when I draw. I actually start from the head down, and then as I'm going down the body, I am actually just grouping, drawing the muscle groups. Drawing the bicep connected to the deltoid, and then drawing the forearm. Drawing the wrist, how the hand is kind of cocked back. I'm sure you guys are wondering how do you know if the proportion's right? Well, once you study anatomy, once you draw the anatomy enough times, you kind of figure out, you start to see if something is just right or too long or too short. You know, your eyes basically become trained to the proportions and stuff like that. So I'm drawing the leg. So the left leg was a little bit too thick, so I decided to erase it and just thin it out. And also, that leg is kind of tricky because it's really not straight. It has a bent to it. So that leg is slightly forward and bent. So that is really hard to illustrate when the figure is facing forward. From the side profile view, you can see the leg is slightly bent, even though in the front view it looks like it's completely straight. So by shading it, I kind of you can kind of where see that it is slightly bent. And I'm just going down the leg, you know, drawing the quad, the knee, and the shin, the lower leg, and the ankle and the foot. Yeah, decide to extend the forearm a little bit, to give it the. Well, the thing about superheroes when you're drawing comics, the regular humans, they're about like 6 heads, 6.5, 6 heads tall. But in comics, they tend to be about 8 or 9 heads tall. So that is just a classic superhero or statue, one of those classic Greek Roman statue proportions, which is they're about 8 to 9 heads tall. There I am, just trying to give Catwoman a bit of a diabolical smile as she's using her whip. So as I said earlier about gesture drawing, you really need to like kind of get into the character. A lot of all the good artists, actually, I think pretty much every artist that I know of, they do get into to their drawing and start posing and kind of like get into their mindset. And it's almost like method acting because like so with her posing about to whip someone, I wanted to like give her this kind of this crazy smile. She's in her happy place as she's about to cause some damage. So the eyes are usually at the midway point in the head. And there I am adding the her bosom. I usually add that toward the end after I have the all the anatomy, all the muscle grouping down. So I'm just erasing all the stray marks, just kind of like reinforcing the outline. Drawing the hand. I really like drawing the hand. It's just, I don't know, something about it. I always enjoyed it. So at this point, I pretty much established the anatomy, the figure, the gestural pose, and all that right away. I actually got lucky because usually it's a bit of a struggle for me to draw to establish the the figure. But with this one, I actually got lucky. I enjoy. I was able to nail down the overall pose down fairly quickly. So this is a part that is a bit of a pain and also kind of something cool because Catwoman is essentially dressed in this kind of like neck to feet leather outfit. It's like a big giant leather body body outfit. So I have to make her entire figure black, but at the same time I have to kind of like establish where all the anatomical landmarks are. So if you're really good at shading, this is actually the really good exercise. So all the body parts are curved. So you want the highlights in the curviest, the high point of the curved part. And so once you have that rule down, kind of like establishing the shadows and highlights will be easier and will make sense to you. So as like this arm is essentially a long tube, like a long cylinder. So you want to darken the edges, the outer edges, and in the middle, you want to keep that light because that's the highlight. That's where the light will hit the most, reflect the most. So with that principle in mind, you can see how I shaded the arms. I mean, later on, I'm gonna, so later on, I'm essentially just shading everything out and graying everything out and getting all the major highlights. But later on, I'm gonna really emphasize a highlight with um, by erasing. The guy who does really excellent highlights, especially in a black outfit, is Adam Hughes. Adam Hughes is absolutely a fantastic artist and and fantastic draftsman, all around great artist. But I really especially love how he handles the highlights on like black leather, black latex, and stuff like that. He really got it down. So all the shadow part, I kind of like. It's it's the curved edge that is curving away from you. That's where I put all the black shadows. Again, if you really know your anatomy, the when it comes to shading, where you put all the shadows and stuff like that, it actually is a lot easier. It's actually pretty simple. When you know your anatomy. I learned my anatomy by copying a lot of medical books. A lot of medical books. I went to nursing school. I have a nursing degree, and I have a bachelor of nursing degree, bachelor of nursing from University of Maryland, UMAB. So I learned my anatomy by looking at a lot of medical books. But mostly I learned my anatomy by looking at a lot of bodybuilding magazines. So when I was younger, I wrestled in high school. So my coach would made us all lift weights and stuff like that. And I really got into weightlifting. And so me and my buddies used to read bodybuilding magazines because they had a lot of great exercise routines and building muscles and getting in shape in general. So I would look at bodybuilders and just kind of like I used to draw them, which kind of like draw all their muscle, how the muscle looked and how the muscle behaved, and how the light and shadows bounce off their muscle. So bodybuilding magazine, now think about it, is where I really learned my anatomy. Yeah, this ran out of lead. So when you draw with the mechanical pencil, as your lead gets shorter, eventually you start scraping the metal tip because you basically your lead just disappears. And so here I am. I was adding more lead into the to my pen because it was the new lead kind of got jammed. Every now and then that happens, but I still love the Pentel mechanical pencil. So I'm trying to, yeah. So still trying to annoyed with the lead, but I got it going now. the quads. Drawing the quads and shading the quads. So again, the same rule apply. Drawing the legs, how to highlight it. It's essentially a long tube. So the top side and the bottom side of the tube you should shadow. You should really darken, and then the middle part, which is the highlighted side, you keep it relatively light. That is just a basic principle. It's a very easy principle. And then once you have that in mind, it's very easy to shade things, especially any character that's wearing a dark outfit. Shading her foot. Yeah, I'm just adding a little bit of, little fabric folds, which adds a hint of realism. Just reinforcing everything, reinforcing the outlines and darkening the shadows so that the highlight will pop more. Seems like every year this is considered the old costume because every year, every few year, DC, actually comic book, all the comic companies in general, they change the character's costume. I have no idea why. I think it's just they just want to make sure that the collectors will pick up the book for the new costume, the new look. So this is a costume that I grew up with, which she was completely in black. I think originally before that she was in a like a purple costume, and back of her cowl was open so her long hair could flow out. But this is the costume that I prefer. I think this is I think it's Darwin Cook created this costume, which is no, he created the one with the goggles. So I guess this is more like the Batman Returns costume with Michelle Pfeiffer. So I'm gonna add the cow. So I don't want her to look like a creepy bald headed woman in leather whipping you. Yeah, that's not a good look. Unless you're into that, I'm not gonna judge anyone's kink. So at this point, I was thinking about making her look like the Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, because I think Michelle Pfeiffer is absolutely gorgeous. So as I was saying about shading, when you're shading the head, think of it as a ball. So all the surrounding area you kind of like bathe in in darkness, and at the high point of the curve, that's where the highlight goes. That's what it essentially is which which body part has is is curved outward, the high point, that's where you add the highlights. Yeah, add the eyebrow. Not too dark, not too dark and thick. You don't want her to look like Tom Selleck. Give her that nice manicured eyebrows and eyelashes. So when you're drawing Catwoman, you don't want the ears to point upward, straight upward like Batman. You want her to be kind of more rounded and to the side. The point tip of her ear, the pointy tip of the ear, kind of going almost sideways. That's how you draw the Catwoman head cowl. And the whip. So when you're drawing the whip, it's like it's part it's part it's part motion and part yeah, it's part physics and part design. So when I'm drawing whips and other physical elements, like scarves or clothing and all that, I try to be stay true to the physics of motion and all that. But with whips and ropes and lassos and stuff like that, there is a certain amount of design element that takes precedence. So with this one, this is more design element, because you want the whip to kind of like nicely frame the figure in the background. Yeah, I'm not sure about that little loop on the top, but for now, I'm going to just go with it. And those whip has they all come in different size and shape, and some of them has that little I guess what do they call it? Is it cattails at the end? So I try to draw that to give it the little bit more interest. So I'm just like reinforcing all the outline. And there you go. So I'm adding, erasing and adding the highlights. Yeah, so just again like adding highlights by erasing it. Yeah, this actually came out pretty good. this was actually a really good practice for me because I just signed with DC Comics to do the next not Harley Quinn, but the next 6 Catwoman covers. So this is a nice little practice for me to draw Catwoman. Well, there you go. Catwoman. Catwoman and her whip.